Good.
Yes.
Welcome to the Bryan City Council meeting on March 2nd, 2026. All please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to motion to approve the minutes of the February 16th meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Mary?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
And John?
Yes. For the hearing of public concerns. Hearing none. Let's proceed. Item number 4, ordinance providing for annual appropriations. John, would you please number and read?
Ordinance number 10, 2026, an ordinance providing for annual appropriations for the city of Bryan for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2026, and declaring an emergency. There's one item in this ordinance, and I'd like Chief Poole to come up and explain what that is. Good evening.
Evening.
So I forewarned you when I did the annual report, we may have a more expensive repair with the tower. We sent it down for the first repair. They looked at it and they came back and said, yes, you need to do it. The good news is it's not 30 to 40,000. It's about 19 and a half, so almost 20,000 in this repair. So that's what we're looking at with this appropriation.
What's the repair?
Believe it or not, it's little plastic slide blocks. But they all have to be custom mic'd, and they've lasted 31 years, so, yeah.
It was good plastic.
Yeah, it's good plastic. That's why it costs that much. And they can't work on it until the first repair is done because they have to extend it to be able to get to it. And that is a 2-week repair. We're about halfway through that right now. So we're probably not going to see it back until mid-March, even with this repair done.
So I assume that's on the ladder?
Yes, the tower, yeah. It's in the ladder section itself.
Sure.
Engine-wise, chassis-wise, we haven't had any issues with this truck. We're just not putting miles on it, so those are all good parts. It goes in and out when we run it every week to test it.
Sure. Well, I'll move to suspend.
I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
I'll move to approve.
And I'll second.
Mary?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief. Agenda item number 5. John, would you please number and read?
Ordinance number 11, 2026, an ordinance for the transfer of funds for the city of Bryan for the month ending March 31, 2026. Sound like a funny title. An ordinance providing for the transfer of funds for the city of Bryan for the month ending March 31, 2026. All of the items in this transfer accommodate the closure of the refuse and recycling fund, the communications fund, and the communications capital fund. As we've discussed now multiple times, those funds are no longer needed because those services are no longer provided, but they hold balances. And we have determined that the balances in the communications fund rightfully belong to the electric fund, which is where they'll end up. In the communications capital fund should belong in the electric capital fund, which is where they'll end up as a result of this. And in the refuse and recycling, about a $300,000 balance. The logical and arguably best place to put it, barring any discussion from you folks, is the streets department. And we have asked Tyson and others to consider how that might be used for a one-time, since it's a one-time influx of money, to build it into some kind of a one-time capital project, possibly an improvement to their building facility or something, not just build it into the operating, because, again, it's a one-time influx of money to the streets fund. All that will be accomplished with this simple little ordinance.
I'll move to suspend.
I'll second.
Rick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yep.
Steve,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and John.
Yes.
And I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Steve,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
and John.
Yes.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 6.
Resolution number 19, 2026, a resolution approving and adopting the Williams County Hazard Mitigation Plan and declaring an emergency.
Good evening again. I'll speak to this. There's a requirement within the county to review this plan periodically. They've been asking for input from the city, emergency management, LEPC, having several of those hats. I've been involved with this process over the last 6 months. We've had input from the city ranking where we see hazards, natural hazards within the county. They put together this plan. How many pages was that?
771.
Yes.
So I did not print it for each of you.
Email that to me, would you?
Sure, we will.
Yeah, a lot of it is statistical data, looking at populations, different hazard areas, what our probability for windstorms, tornadoes, worst case scenario, the probability of earthquakes, dam breaks, a lot of those things. And they compile it all into one master plan, and then it requires an approval to accept it, and it's our turn to accept that.
Is part of this plan like, heaven forbid, but a railroad derailment with hazard materials?
This one is primarily natural disasters.
Oh, okay.
So they're looking at things like drought, extreme snow events, floods, things of that nature.
What covers that I just spoke of?
That is part of the LEPC. We look at,
Okay.
as well as the what they would consider man-made hazards, and those are addressed in a different plan. This is primarily the natural hazard mitigation that's developed. And there's a lot of stuff there, and a lot of it is charts that you can pull online, and then some of it's just compilation of many different charts, bringing them all together in one place.
Well, I'll move to suspend.
I'll second.
Jim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and John.
Yes.
I'll move to approve.
And I'll second.
Mary,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and John.
Yes. Brings us to item 7, police annual report. Chief, yourself.
Good evening, council.
Evening. Evening.
So yeah, I'll just go through the report. I believe you all had a copy of it in your packet. As you can see, we had handled 264 car crashes, investigations, 563 traffic citations, 605 traffic warnings, a total of 9,202 calls for service. These are the personnel changes. Over the year, we hired 3 full-time officers, 2 auxiliary officers, 3 part-time dispatchers, 1 full-time officer, and 1 part-time dispatcher.
So sorry.
Nope, you're doing fine. The bike patrol, our hours were down on that due to the ones that had applied for it. They were part of our field training for the new hires, so we weren't able to train those officers to become new members of the bike team. We are in the process of getting them trained up for, or hopefully this spring yet, so they're ready to go for summer. So those are the numbers, the hours, and the miles ridden. Just touching basis with the police chaplain, that's still Pastor Michael Elkins from New Hope Church. He's been with us now for, I believe, 6 years. He does a phenomenal job. Anytime we have a traumatic event, we notify him. He'll come in, speak with the officers, or speak with family members as needed. Yeah, we are still with the Owens Community College Police Consortium. I think they raised the rate to $600 this year, which is a phenomenal fee. With that, we can send officers to a vast array of trainings that they host, and it doesn't cost us any additional money, so that's a huge benefit. Overall, most officers, the entire department, we had over 1,300 hours of training in various topics: ethics, arrest, search and seizure, trauma and wellness, domestic violence, vehicle dynamics, report writing, leadership. We had some SWAT training and first responder active shooters as well. The state requires 40 hours, and we were well above that for each officer. And also, the department now has 3 OPATA certified instructors, so we can teach courses in-house, and we've been doing that as well. As mentioned, you're fine, you don't have to go back, but the last line on there is we are hosting several courses. Locally, we hosted our SWAT basic training and some other courses throughout. So it's always nice to bring other departments in, let them view facilities, and everybody's always pretty envious of the police and fire complex. The fleet, not much has changed there. We still have a total of 13 vehicles, 9 marked patrol, 4 unmarked. The maintenance cost, I believe, was within $100 of where we were at last year. The fuel usage was pretty well spot on, and the fuel cost, I think, was within $1,000, if I'm not mistaken. So that hasn't really changed.
No, it was up. You see that? Because of full staff levels.
Dispatch operations, we had 723 911 calls, 48,257 radio calls, and 31,539 phone calls. OVIs were pretty steady with where they've always been. A total of 48 subject tests were conducted on the new machine. 27 of those were by Bryan officers. There were additional 3 subject arrests for OVI, but testing used other methods. Typically, that's a urine test if the machine's down for some reason. And there was an increase of 25% in the OVI from the previous year. Again, you had the stats with you to review for both the canines. Obviously, we retired Tyson out in November of last year, so that just leaves Bain, and his hand has been out on medical leave, so hopefully we'll start seeing some activity with the dog before too long. The multi-area narcotics task force, that continues to be a huge asset to Northwest Ohio. These are just stats for Detective Rathke, but we work collectively with Fulton, Henry, Putnam, Paulding, Defiance, and obviously Williams County. And that's just the ones in the immediate area. Obviously, drug dealers don't care where the jurisdiction lines are, which is why that task force is so important. Calls for service, it looks like it's gone up dramatically. It's just really, we changed a little bit on how guys were handling calls and actually showing their own activity. A lot of times they were trying not to necessarily generate a report for a call they didn't feel they needed to, and that's just a matter of kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So we expressed, if you have a call for service, you need to make sure you're doing the report on it to get the credit for it. That's just a graph to show the call by volume, by days, and pretty consistent across. Sunday, I guess if you'd have to say was a slow day, it would be Sunday. Next slide is, okay, we had one for the hours of the day, but that didn't change much. And then grants for the year. We did the Bulletproof Vest grant program. We received $2,703.38. And the body worn camera grant was $8,959.25. So what we have. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Hey, Chief. I'm gonna put you on the spot for a minute. Sorry, Wes, it's not your turn.
Actually, it is Wes's turn.
No. I'm gonna really put you on the spot. Can you come back to the podium?
Yes.
Since there's been a few articles in the paper. There was a call for 911 service that was really low, and I think I want to explain to the council members because they don't know. Cell phones and 911 calls in the city of Bryan automatically go to central dispatch. If you've been reading the paper, eventually we're going to move to a next-gen 911, which actually will geo-catch the cell phone numbers. So if you're in the city limits and you dial 911, it will go to our PSAP at Bryan PD. So that will increase those calls tremendously, and they will come to our dispatch first. So there's been a lot of stats and numbers that have been thrown out. And if you have questions, please directly call the chief on that or myself. But what I do want you to hesitate on is those numbers are very preliminary and they're not 100% accurate, especially the estimates and costs. So you've been working with your team on getting estimates and costs.
Correct.
Correct?
Yep.
And different versions of software and CAD as well. So I think one thing that we did discover is if we would relinquish our PSAP, in order to get it back, we would have to get permission from the county commissioners. And long-term, I don't know that that's the best option for our community when we're all gone. So that's something that we have to really take into consideration. Is there anything you would like to add?
No,
Since
think
I
you hit
gave
all the
you
points.
no prep time for this discussion at all.
No, I mean, that's fine, but yeah, unfortunately, we are still waiting on the quotes from the various vendors to give you accurate numbers, I guess, to say the least, so, but everything else was spot on.
Do we know where this is headed?
So Brian Times was my witness. I was there to sign a proclamation, and then I got pulled into a room where Next Gen 911 was 3 or 4 years out, and then all of a sudden it was Q4 of this year. However, we're not sure that that's completely accurate. We're not sure that some of the software is going to be available
Yeah,
until
without going into
next
the
year.
full-on conversation with the gentleman from the state, they said Q4 may not even happen this year. So it, just like everything else, the state's not 100% whether it's going to happen this year or not, so.
So our hope is that we actually have time to build something into next year's budget, and it should be spread across a few years, several year period, not just 1 year, lots of money. And as we get more details, we certainly will keep you guys involved in that discussion and decision-making. And so we don't want you to think the cart got before the horse. There was something that was long-term discussion that turned into we need to make a decision right now, that turned into well, we've got some time. So, and in the first time I was in the room, they were not. So in fairness to them, like I said, no stats. I didn't know which CAD software, cloud, anything other than I knew that we used in digital, and I knew that I didn't need to spend $500,000, and like there were some things in there. But I will also tell you, our dispatch service, like there's some. I know you guys know this. I haven't been shy about it. The whole time I've been mayor, I have been talking to the commissioners about either consolidation or working with them to combine things into our building. And I say that because I think the East Annex is not something that can be. I mean, the public can't access the East Annex, the back area where Central is. And, we type charges for officers all over the county in the middle of the night so that no one has to come up from Bryan Municipal Court to do that at 2 a.m. We take bond for municipal court. That saves bed money for CC&O for the county commissioners when they have to pay for that because those people don't go to jail. We are the only agency in the entire county that has the intoxilizer for the OVIs. On top of that, there's a camera there right into our dispatch, so our dispatchers witness those. That's a state requirement. I mean, there's a number of things that our 24-hour or 24/7 building provides that I don't think the community should lose. outside of the dispatch piece. So there's a whole lot of things in discussion. So I didn't want those millions of dollars discussions. I don't think it's going to end up being like that cost for the city of Bryan. I didn't want you to worry about that. I know that our team and Chief Poole's been involved in the discussion too. We will look for the best service for our community at the best price. We'll try to collaborate as much as we can with the county. But we have before in the past gone a different way because maybe they haven't spent the dollars that we're willing to spend. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out. But you guys, when we do have estimates, will be brought into that discussion and deliberation and decision-making. We just don't have that for you yet. But I didn't want you to keep reading articles and think we're holding out on you. We truly don't have adequate numbers for any of the dispatch conversations for Bryan PD.
Well, it didn't seem like there were any adequate numbers available.
Right.
Based upon the article numerous times indicated that this wasn't available, so it wasn't, it didn't seem like anything, it wasn't a Bryan Times issue, it wasn't even a city of Bryan issue, it was just they didn't have the stuff available for the various scenarios that
Yeah.
you've been talking about.
So just wanted to kind of fill you in. Since I put you on the spot. You're welcome, thank you. Okay, now it's Wes's turn, and he was so excited. I'm sure the anxiety is just bubbling, isn't it?
Kind of lost steam on it, huh?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
2025. Yep, just the overview that I show you every year.
We gotta
Same
figure
picture.
out how to lighten that, because on my screen it looks delightful.
Yeah. Operational notes for 2025, total flow, 525.6 million gallons through the plant. We had, that's up just a little bit from 2024, but in the scope of things, like it's basically the same. So running about the same. Daily average, 1.441 million gallons a day through the plant, 1.420 in 2024. We ran 1.617 million gallons of digested Class B solids were dewatered through the plant. That equates to 228 tons of completely dry material. 2024, it was 1.5 and 204, so we're up a little bit there, still within the parameters of just being an average year for us.
And if I remember right, the dry material is going to the landfill?
It is, yeah,
Okay.
yep. Suspended solids removal, 94.5 is a good number. All of these numbers are really good numbers, and you've heard me in past years say the plant is just a really good design, and the thing operates really well once you get it dialed in. CBOD, 97.8 removal, which is fantastic. Ammonia removal, 98.6. Phosphorus, which is one of the big drivers for problems in the lake, 90.9, which is a pretty respectable number too. So plant operates well all over through the cost. And cost of treatment per gallon is 2 cents per gallon. And if any of you keep track of the number that I give every year, I'm looking at you, John, because you're the likely culprit. Normally, that's a percentage of 1%. It might be 0.5, half a cent per gallon, or 0.4. This number is a lot higher this year just because it reflects the project that's going on out there. So that money gets folded into the operating costs. So it's a skewered number that we will see go back down at some point here in the next year or two, show up a little bit.
So you wanted to do it that way so you didn't scare me.
Right. It's still 2 cents a gallon.
I got you.
It's a bargain. Okay, so the only thing that I've really included tonight was just the secondary treatment improvement project, because that's where all the action's happening this year. This is an overview. The colored spots that you see are where we're adding buildings or tankage out there. The next slide will be what's getting demoed. That is the old 1940s plant with a little bit of that. The north tanks that you can see inside that rectangle are where those tanks were built, I believe, in 60 to 62. And all of them are failing, obviously. That's why we kicked this project off. So all of that will be gone when we're done with the new equipment buildings that come in. This is a little bit of that tankage that was in that rectangle there is it being demoed out. And where the excavators are sitting, that's basically the footprint of the new control building is right there. So we had to take that old tankage all the way down to the bottom. It was down there about 12 feet. We had to go crushing concrete with this equipment. LJ Irving, they're out of Napoleon, and they do demo work, and they do it very well. So this is us opening the ground. Next slide, please. This is when they got done. They've just taken a chunk of the tankage out. Pretty much everything you can see in the forefront of that photo is still yet to be removed as we get a little bit further on. Backfilling that hole, we had to backfill everything with compactable material, stone in there. So we've put hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of tons of stone in there to give a foundation for the new building. Speaking of foundation, that's what this is. This is also the control building as it's going up. The control building itself, we're getting a lot closer to completion on that. The timeline we're looking at right now is roughly maybe the end of March, the first week or two of April. We'll be moving into that building, then they can get on with the demo of the old building. This is the chemical building that we're building out there. You can see it's just a plain Jane block structure, nothing too fancy. All the equipment sets inside, and we'll get to a picture of that. See inside of the building, kind of see where the tankage is going to set in there. 2 tanks installed. Each of those are 5,000 gallons. We use alum, which is aluminum sulfate material, and what that's used for is it's a coagulant in the water that will cause particles to stick together and get heavier, so they drop out of the waste stream. But it also has the effect of taking soluble phosphorus or insoluble phosphorus and turning it into a form of soluble phosphorus that can settle. So that's how we achieve a lot of the phosphorus removal that we do through the plant.
Do you think that's going to increase then the percent from 90 up?
No, it'll probably ride right about the same. That's generally where we run in that range year in and year out. Phosphorus is not terribly hard to remove. You know, again, we can add alum, which is an expensive product, but it also is the best product for the job. So that's why almost every plant has some form of chemistry that they add to get at phosphorus at the end of the day, because otherwise biologically it's a little bit harder to break down. In the future, at some point, somebody will be standing here as things go forward. Nutrient removal will become a bigger and bigger deal as far as regulatory goes, because we're now really starting to see the effect that it can have on large bodies of water that these watersheds drain into. And so they will require treatment of other things like nitrates, different nutrients, but nitrogen is a good example. And so there are biological ways to do it. In this project, we actually set the design up so if 10 years from now EPA were to say, okay, you've got to meet a lower standard, we've already designed the tankage that we're building around being able to just take the next step with it and get into operation instead of having to reinvent the wheel and build new tankage, things like that. So we did get out in front of that. Timeline-wise, might be 2 years, might be 10 years, might be 20 years, we don't know. But my personal feeling on it is a decade or so. You'll start hearing a little bit of rumbling about it. So hopefully we've got things set up where it'll be pretty much just a shoehorn in there the equipment that we need. It won't be ridiculously expensive or anything like that if we played our cards right here, so. It's the outside of the chemical building, getting the brick wrap on it, so it matches everything else that we've got out there already. This is a thickening tank. The current tank that we have was repurposed from a 1940s tank, and that was repurposed in the mid-80s. The repurposed part is doing good, the shell is falling apart around it, so it was in failure mode. So we're replacing that here with this tankage. Another look as the walls go up on that thickening tank. That's total outer shell is poured there. It doesn't have the railing on it yet. That's all safety and concrete forming that you see there. Little look at the inside of it. The rebar in the outer ring of the overflow for the tank's called a launder. That's what we're getting, those guys were getting ready to pour then.
How deep is that? 20, 30 feet?
No, it's actually not. I think that is 12 feet deep. Yeah, yep. Finished concrete poured there. It does not have the collecting equipment. There's a geared drive that's in there to collect the solids, pull it towards the center, and that's where you pull the solids out of the tank as they settle. This is the hole that's open for the new aeration tanks. That's about, they're probably down there about 16 or 17 feet there. See the rebar getting laid in for what's called the mud mat, which is basically a concrete foundation that sets underneath the tank to spread the weight of it out. Walls going up on that tank. Another shot as they move on down through, and there's actually two tanks there being poured. So what we're looking at there is the outer wall to the right hand side. There's no forming there, just rebar, but that's where the center divider is between the two tanks. A lot of rebar in these things. It takes forever to build them, for sure. We're still pouring concrete. They were pouring concrete on them today. So these photos were taken very early fall, I believe. Just doing her one big bucket at a time. That's concrete going in, and then you can kind of see they've got the exposed walls of the tank finished there. There's still decking, as you can see, all that bent over rebar. That's all decking that's being poured. That's what they were working on today. I guess that's it. If anybody's got any questions. All right, I'll wrap it up then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 8, Mark, if you want to give the correct wording, I'd appreciate it for the executive session.
Sure, so somebody will need to make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to RC 121.22G2 to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, the sale of property at competitive bidding, or the sale or other disposition of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in accordance with Section 505.10 of the revised code, if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal private interest is adverse to the general public interest. Somebody can just say so moved.
So moved.
If you agree.
I think that was Steve, but I don't know who
Yep,
seconded it.
yes.
It was.
I'll second.
Steve,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
and John.
Yes. So at this point, is there anybody?
Well, I think you missed going around the room. Because we're in executive session now.
Okay. That, bye-bye.
I'm going to take the stump out.
Hey, there's a burn ban. Look at Facebook if you want to know what that's about, right?